Thank you all so much for coming out today. This is enormously exciting for us because we were here a year ago. Kevin, Shannon, the co-founders of Fast Forward and our hosts for this event. So one of the things we were talking about backstage is we were hoping to make this a genuine conversation for today and tomorrow. And we would love to have people interrupting us and shouting out questions and telling everyone on stage when they're wrong and why they're wrong. And in fact, to start, I'm glad someone's enthusiastic. To start, let's go ahead and do a test of this. Where's the question that they just asked? So, right, only one of these options has been chosen. How many people, we're going to be talking for the next day and a half about the role of technology in nonprofits, the role of technology in making the world a better place and making the world a worse place. How many people in this room think that tech is a force for good? Okay, no, go ahead and cheer. Cheer if you believe. Okay, so let's ask, ma'am, you sitting right here, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick on you. Why is technology a force for good? Okay, so which is a great point. So she was saying that technology is a force for good because it's a force for globalization. That she's from Saudi Arabia. That there would be voices that would be lost, particularly the voices of women in Saudi and other nations, if we didn't have technology to empower them. But how many people in this room are a little on the fence? Either think that tech is not a great thing, or give or take, you might shade to the left. Raise your hand. Feel free to cheer out. Fewer hands. Ma'am, tell us why. Why do you think that tech is something we should be concerned about?
Well, I think it's a medium and a tool, so in and of itself, it's not good or bad, but it can be used like any tool for good or bad, and it's used for both.
So tech is a tool, like dynamite, right? Dynamite is a tool for good and a tool for bad, but you don't want to be too close to it when it explodes unexpectedly. Okay, so Kevin and Shannon, let me ask you guys this question. You guys have now devoted your lives to trying to bring not-for-profits and tech together. Why is this a good thing? Tell me, what has happened in the last year since we were on stage together that makes you believe that technology can have a power for good, and what does that good look like?
It's a great question. It's something we've been talking a lot about because when we started Fast Forward 4 years ago, San Francisco was having a crisis even then about technology, but it was different. People were throwing eggs at buses and upset that technology was increasing housing prices and changing the local dive bar into an artisan coffee shop. And so it was changing San Francisco, but people weren't questioning the value of the platform themselves. And I feel like we've moved into this existential crisis phase of technology where we're not even sure if the products are making the world better or if they're making us addicts and depressed and destroying democracy.
And the truth is, it's a platform paradox. They're a little bit of both. The platforms that allow us to topple dictators could also threaten our democracies. And it's particularly important to folks in this room because tech nonprofits start with impact, and then they drive their product based on who they're going to impact. And for-profit companies are just now really acknowledging the impact their platforms are having. And so it's an opportunity for people in this room to influence the conversation and really lead the conversation forward.
And I want to talk about that, about what the responsibility of people in technology is. Let me just ask, how many folks in this room, raise your hand and cheer out if you work for a nonprofit right now? Okay, pretty good number. How many people work for a for-profit company doing something that is responsible, corporate social responsibility, or something else good with your life? And how many people are venture capitalists or financiers or do anything else besides the two things I just mentioned? Okay, fewer. So the folks in this room seem like they're good, altruistic people, right? All of you want to make the world a better place, even the people who are just in finance. Yeah. Let me ask this though: what responsibility, given that there is the sentiment here, right? There's no one in this room who's saying I can't wait to build the next neo-Nazi website because I'm sure I'm going to get some ad dollars from it. What's the next level though? What's the next level beyond just saying, I want to do good? What responsibility do people have when they're building tech for profit or not profits?
We talk about it a lot. The founders that you'll hear, many of them speak today, they first found the customer, the foster youth who needed an adult to help support them in their transition out of foster care, or the first generation student who needed someone to coach them through that process. So when you start with that, you can't help but lead with impact. For companies that aren't thinking about the end user in that way, other than just getting more ad dollars, that's when we start to see some of this residual negative impact.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we often talk about how the entrepreneurs in this sector start with impact. Many of them have personal experience of the problem they've set out to solve, and they design everything around that. And the product is the last thing that they come up with through the long process. And in the for-profit tech world, we often see the opposite, where we start with the product or the solution, go out and find the problem, and eventually, when the product scales enough, then people are thinking about the impact their product has in the market. But the reality is, all technology, all products have an impact, but not all entrepreneurs are thinking about them at the same stage of the development of the products.
And for anyone here who doesn't know, Fast Forward, what you guys originally started, is an incubator for nonprofit technology companies.
Yeah.
Now, how many classes have you guys seen come through now?
This is our fifth year.
Fifth year, okay. So you've seen enough to sort of see a pattern. When people come in and they say, I see a problem and I want to solve it, what are the stumbles? What are the tough things that you're helping them, in an incubator sense, get from point A to point B?
Tech nonprofits do everything that's hard about a nonprofit and everything that's hard about a tech startup at the same time. They're serving, yeah, it's real.
People seem to like that. People relate.
They're serving the hardest to reach customers. They're working in an ecosystem in which there honestly aren't a ton of funders. There aren't always a lot of advocates. And they're building technology from scratch. And that's just hard. The advantage for the entrepreneur is it's a totally white space. There are fields and sectors that you can completely change and influence by creating a better product. One of our founders, Michelle Brown from Common Lit, some of you may have seen her speak here last year. She has built a literacy platform directed at teachers. When she spoke here last year, she was serving 500,000 students, which is impressive. 12 months later, she's serving 4 million. And she's able to do that because of the scale of the technology. And she recently expanded into Mexico, so we'll see global expansion from Common Lit soon. It's possible because of the technology. So it is hard, but you have this opportunity to build great tech for our biggest social problems. So we think it's a problem worth solving.
And that shift in how people think about almost the moral philosophy of their business trickles down into all aspects of how nonprofits approach bringing tech to the solution. And we see it not just in the product decisions, but in how they think about their go-to-market strategies, and even how they think about exits and impact. So for example, when we look at how Michelle goes to market, or a Khan Academy, they're able to partner with organizations like Bank of America, but without putting any money in, or partner with a college board to increase their reach in a way that for-profits probably would not. And so what we see in the tech nonprofit sector is a lot more use of open standards, collaboration, open source products, crowdsourcing. And that's why when we talk about the most famous examples of the space, it's things like Wikipedia that come to mind.
Let's open it up to folks who have questions or just even have comments. If you disagree or you agree, if you have some reflections on what your experience has been like, and while people are getting ready with that, let me ask one other thing, which is, so it's been a year since the first conference.
Yeah.
We have seen this seismic shift in how people think about technology. It's gone from sort of benign to something that we should be worried about. We've also seen these other seismic cultural shifts, right, around the role of women in technology, the role of women in life, sexual harassment. What's going to be the story over the next year? What are we going to be talking about when we get together a year from now?
Yeah, I think this last year has been pretty wild, and there's been some much needed sunlight in the dark corners of the tech sector. But in some ways, last year we were thinking about this as a story of us versus them, us as the impact tech people versus the other kinds of tech people. And the truth is, this is the tech community. It's all of us. And so I think by next year, we will have seen that this was the story of now. How do we use the expertise of the people in this room to influence how people build products in all parts of the sector? And how do we influence those who are building the biggest products that we use in tech nonprofits all the time to build better things for the world?
That's interesting. Yeah. Let's go to anyone have any questions or comments? Feel free to shout them out. Let me ask a question for the audience then. If you guys don't ask questions, I'm going to interrogate you. How many people feel like their company has changed culturally in the last year, where they're taking issues of social responsibility more seriously than they did previously? Okay, just a handful, actually. And is that because you felt like social responsibility was already job one, and it was the top of mind? How many people feel like there needs to be more focus on social responsibility either at their companies or just in the Valley? Yeah. And sir, right here, then the blue jacket. Sorry, and I'll call in the back soon too. Yeah, you. I mean, tell me why. So, what is the troubling? What do you see in the technology industry that troubles you in that respect? 10 seconds.
It's from Wikipedia.
Hello. Okay. So I work for the Wikimedia Foundation, the nonprofit that runs Wikipedia, and even for ourselves, just this past year, we reached out to thousands of stakeholders doing a 15-year movement strategy process, looking at the future of what we want Wikipedia to be and to look like. And as a big part of that, we decided one of our strategic directions going forward is knowledge equity, is really the idea of closing the knowledge gaps on Wikipedia, which can be gender-based, can be geographic-based, language-based, et cetera, but they cross-cut a lot of different intersectionalities that we see that are oftentimes not being thought about, I think, by the tech sector at large and not oftentimes being addressed. So it's one thing that we're doing that I'm really excited about. I don't know if that directly answers your question.
No, it's a great answer. It's a fantastic. And so let me ask you guys, we just have about a minute left. You know, as social justice is becoming more of an issue that's top of mind, what are you guys excited that we're going to see in the next day and a half that really begins to talk about how nonprofits and for-profits can do better, can bring more good into the world?
Yeah. We pulled the content from the headlines, so it's everything from blockchain to AI, all the harassment and diversity, or all the topics we're going to talk about. I think one of the things I'd love for people to take away, there's 3 things I hope everyone walks away from the next day and a half with. One is a real appreciation for the impact of the product decisions that we make, and are more thoughtful about how decisions they make impact the world. The second is the tremendous opportunity in this space. I feel like this room is full of entrepreneurs and funders, and it's rare to find a space with so much like a blank canvas of opportunity. So this area of technology being applied to social problems. And the third thing I hope people get from the next day and a half is a real understanding of the role they can play in this sector. So whether you're an entrepreneur, potential mentor, board member, funder, there's a role for everyone here to help grow the support ecosystem.
Yeah. I'm excited by the speakers, right? Like, these are people that we geek out on all the time. So some of the biggest leaders in the space, from Nancy Levlin, who's about to come on, to Megan Smith. We also have some of technology's most important leaders, so Sean White from Mozilla. We have blockchain specialists, AI specialists. It's really a special group of people. And most importantly to us, the tech nonprofit entrepreneurs who are working in a range of issues and facing new and different challenges every day. You'll hear about an exit strategy from a nonprofit that we don't typically get to hear about. You'll hear about product partnerships that have unlocked hundreds of millions of lives impacted. It's a real, these are people we love, and so we're excited you get to see them.
Well, thank you for hosting us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Shannon and Kevin.
Wow.
Thanks, guys.